McConville.
Here.
Volker.
Here.
Mangold.
Here.
Hughes. Stone. Sesto. Reese. Burns. We have a quorum. All right. First item up is approval of the minutes from the Plant Commission meeting held January 25th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Todd. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Pete. Any additions, omissions, corrections? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. We have no old business. New business under consideration. Consideration of preliminary plat for Navitown at Heritage Harbor, Ottawa. Planned unit development. Is there someone here from the developer? Now, since they're, yeah, Tom, you're going to have to go to that mic.
We can't all hear him.
Well, that's for
Oh, for
this. Our microphones are on. So,
Good evening, everybody. I'm Tom Heimsoth. I'm the developer at Heritage Harbor. I think most of you know me pretty well. Glad to be here tonight. Should I distance a little bit more? You do that?
yeah.
Okay, thanks. We are here tonight to talk about Navitown, which is, we think, a very exciting development. This is in the very northeast quadrant of our resort. If you put yourself out there at the east entrance, it's everything from the east entrance all the way to the east property line. So it's all the way across from the second entrance all the way to the east property line. And it's a bit of an unusual development in that it's large. It has several product types. Some product types that we haven't done before, because this will also be the start of our Harbor Town, which will be lined up along Harborview Drive, which is that main entrance to the resort. And then beyond that, going to the east, there'll be some multifamily that you will see. And then the units that we will start with, though, are units that probably you have been very familiar with in the past. We know that we continue to have a very strong market for small vacation style products. These are products that families buy. Going way back to 2011 or 12 and 2011 to 13, somewhere in there. We worked with a builder called Homeway Homes, and they built the vast majority of those units in the area that we call Cottages at Heron's Landing. And they've been very successful. It's a dense development, but we've come to find that people just love that. It's very active. It's a great family orientation. And so we know that there continues to be, especially now, a very strong market for that, and we don't have any more to sell. So we built through, as you know, the last 2 to 3 years, we built through the area to the west of Heron's Landing. That's called the Villas of Heron's Landing. And so now we want to move on to build more of these 2-story. They'll all be 2-story. There'll be the initial 12 that we want to build this season will all be 16-foot wide product. Kevin will get more into the details of that. And by the way, this is Pierre Alexander, who's our director of marketing. I don't think that some of you have met Pierre yet. Most of you, I think, know Kevin Donovan, who is our architect and also does some development at Heritage Harbor. So I think probably the thing for me to do is turn it over to these guys. I think everybody's curious about the name Navitown. What does that mean? Because it's like Navy, but with 2 V's in it. And it has a historical meaning to the Ottawa area, an important historical meaning to the Ottawa area. And we want you to understand that, and then we want you to understand a lot about the architecture and what we really intend to do with that entire area. So Pierre, maybe you can just chat a little bit about Navitown.
Okay, good evening. As Tom said, I'm Pierre Alexander. I do marketing at Heritage Harbour. So a large part of my job role is to understand the market, to study the markets of folks that are coming and paying attention to a lifestyle, a resort lifestyle and a community, and looking at different personas. And, you know, in all our market research, we understand what people are looking for. They're looking for a place to connect with family. They're looking for a place to get away from the chaos and the craziness of the suburbs and the cities. And, you know, Heritage Harbour is a very special place to come to. So the other part that I have been involved in as well is the vacation rentals. And that's been very successful. We ran at 80% occupancy last year, and more people want to join the program and share their home and share their experience with others. And so I'm very passionate about placemaking, destination, tourism, and some of the terms that come into mind with Navitown is whimsical, authentic, and a place for people and families to gather and to connect with each other. So as Tom said, the northeast corner is where Navitown is based, and as part of marketing and branding, you know, we looked at the neighborhood and said, well, what are we going to do in this neighborhood? You've seen various others like the cottages at Heron's Landing, and so why Navitown? Well, Navitown falls on the northern boundary of Heritage Harbour, and right across the Route 6. I forget. Sorry, no, it's not Route 6. It's Canal Road is the I&M Canal, and we've got that great connection to the canal. And so we thought, like, how do we connect people more to Ottawa itself? And so Navitown, we met with some different great folks from Ottawa who researched the city and the history of the city, and we picked their brain on what should we name this new neighborhood. Then we came to a concept about Navitown, and what was presented to us is that the canal workers that dug the canal spent the time and energy doing it. They lived a very hard life. It was very manual work, and those canal workers were known as navvies because that was a short for navigators. Canal workers that would dig these canals. They were immigrants from Europe, from Ireland and the UK, and the navigators would kind of work their way through the different ground terrain and figure out where the locks would fall and that kind of thing. And so we thought we would bring a modern take on the I&M Canal and that era that was a bygone era, and bring people's focus to it, right? So we're really excited about the modern take of Navitown. As you can see, some of the product types, the 2 stories, the lock tender home. Kevin's done a great job in looking at the structures and you know, the sizing and that kind of thing. We've got the Canal Quarters as well as the mule barns, which we equate to carriage homes, and then you have toll houses, which are smaller rental units themselves. You know, we're looking at different things on how we do the sidewalks, you know, redstone paving and that kind of thing, just to bring those, how can I say, nuances from that era into a modern retake. And so that gives you a bit of a short-term example of what we're trying to achieve in this neighborhood. And we, you know, our goal is to make it a destination that families can come and connect with loved ones. They can have a place that's very memorable, and the connection on the I&M, as I said earlier, is, you know, we want to encourage people to journey along the I&M from the harbour itself, heading west towards Buffalo Rock, and to enjoy the history of the different places that they can stop along the way, as well as making that connection with the city, supporting local businesses. And I think it, you know, when it all comes together, it's something that we can be really proud of.
You.
They're out there already.
Yeah.
That's not you.
So as Tom mentioned, this development's in the northeast corner. I'm going to pull up the plan shortly for Navitown. What's interesting is, I'm going to just circle right here. This whole quadrant is getting included, which does include a portion of this, what we're calling Harbor Town. And that's going to be the little hub where there's going to be some shops and real estate headquarters, resort headquarters. And then what's neat about Navitown is in the future, when this is all built out, this will probably be one of the liveliest little quadrants of the resort, because they're going to be steps away from the marina, the downtown, hospitality amenities. So it's a big step for us because, not only are we getting this really cool residential component, but we're getting our downtown started. And so the intent would be, and I'll show you a few sites of that. We're really trying to mark or hit a lot of boxes with this. So let me pull up this Navitown plan quick. I think the projector was down tonight, so it's. You guys have this graphic in your packet there. One of the big concepts for this neighborhood is based on the success over at Cottages at Heron's Landing. That's a pedestrian-centric neighborhood. You don't drive up to those houses there. You park, and then when you get out of your car, your experience at the resort, going to and from your cottage, meeting your neighbors, it's all pedestrian friendly. We're also seeing a big uptick in people loving having the golf carts to zip around, go get their mail, go meet their friends, zip to the restaurant. And so at the core of this neighborhood, we really didn't want a neighborhood of this size and then have kids playing and have cars flying through it. So we're doing this neighborhood. This is a differentiator for something of this scale, but the idea being that you park your car in the parking lot, and then as you use the resort and your life here, the walkways in front of those units over to the right, they're sized for golf cart and bike and pedestrian traffic only. So really, unless it's an emergency vehicle that has to get back there, you would park your car and then and then be getting to your unit by walking or a golf cart. Unit counts on there, I'll show you some of the products in particular, but as Tom mentioned, we have a lot of product types wrapped around this parking lot, which is kind of a natural looking parking lot. We'll show you an image of that. We have 12 multifamily buildings. And so our intent is that these buildings would be about 4 units each, 1 bed, 1 bath, and have a few different uses, potentially as an apartment or potentially in the future as a condo. It's going to be adaptive to how the resort grows and the uses. So there's some flexibility with that. But the look in the building we found for it is a really unique, cool architecture. So it's not just like a little apartment building going up. These are going to be really supportive of the resort and the look and feel.
You see yourself as maybe renting some of that out?
An owner could own those, and then they could rent some of those. Ottawa's really starved for any kind of quality rental product right now. And we had a feasibility study done last year, and he very boldly thought we could put in 48 apartment units a year or more, consistently, and have them absorb at a steady rate between rents of $1,200 to $2,200 a month. And the other part of it is we need some vacation rentals. So there's a chance that some of those could be owned and then, put in the vacation rental and supported that way. And then long term, like these 4 buildings right here are very prime. So there could be a point in the future where someone's selling off those units as some pretty nice condos that would have some marina views. So we're really excited to get that kind of density in there and then really shield that parking lot with full buildings around it.
If I can interject, I think it's important, especially for you people that are involved in real estate. These will be built as condominiums, right? From a legal standpoint, they'll be built as condominiums. We think that some of them will be acquired where a party will buy all 4 units in a building. That's the way we would prefer to do it. And then they would see that as an investment property that they would rent as apartments, right? The opportunity to rent products like this at Heritage Harbor is huge because you've got options in the hospitality business, you call that revenue management, where you might rent it for, during this time of the year, you might rent it for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. In the summertime, you want to rent it, like with a 2-night minimum or at least for a week or 2 weeks. And so you can really maximize your revenue by doing it that way. But if you stop and think about it, normally if you own a apartment building, you hold that building, you take some depreciation from the tax standpoint, and you sell it off 60 or cents or something like that, right? With this, you could sell it off a condo at a time if you want to. So it's really a neat kind of a Swiss Army knife approach to building what the market will probably think of as apartments, but they'll be built with individual utilities, and they will be under the condominium law in terms of how they're put together in an association and so forth. So they're really, it's really a fun product, and what's really neat about it, as you'll see as Kevin gets into this, is that they really look like they belong as part of the history back when in the mid-19th century, let's say, when the canal was being developed. So it's pretty cool.
Mhm.
Yet they're very modern on the inside.
Yeah, so we're excited about those, and we're gonna, the plan is, I'll talk about the phasing, but to hopefully get those up right away. And so our phasing schedule after this, if we can get preliminary then final plat approval, instantly we get the site work in, because it's crazy with COVID. It's all of a sudden things sold, and like all of Ottawa sold out. And even in January, I think we've had 14 contracts or 12 or anything we have available sold. I just started putting some walls up on a house, and it's gone. So we're almost going into spring with no houses right now. And so that's why we're going to be aggressive with this. And the plan would be to get these 12 up, and then at least two of these buildings, so that we can have finished inventory to keep meeting the need of what we're seeing, the trend being out there. So outside of those multifamily buildings, everything to the east is it's single family product. And I'm going to point one more time. This whole 12-unit block, all of these, and all of these. Those are 2-bed, 2.5-bath, proven product of Heritage. All of them will be on a basement in there, and about 1,150 to 1,200 square feet for those. There's a little area at the corner here. Those are planned as some smaller 600 square foot. They're referred to as kind of like bunk units, but they have full kitchens, laundry, bathrooms. That means it's just a smaller home, probably similar in size to the smaller Cottage of Heron's Landing unit. And then the ones that border along Canal there, we're actually doing a concept of a carriage house. So down below, you could have a golf cart garage and either a lock-off or a workshop, or if you're you could make it a little live-work building. But then upstairs would be a 1-bed, 1-bath, full living unit. So we find a lot of people that want storage, and we like the idea of elevating those, because you'll actually get a view of the canal across the street, and then you also get a view over the Navitown development. The park in the middle, we wanted to have this kind of camp feel, so bonfire pits and hammocks. It is going to include a pool and an activity hall, so something a little more rustic but still conditioned, that's going to have a pool table and ping pong table. The whole concept being just to have fun, family fun, get together, and then really having that middle portion be a safe place for congregations and getting togethers and dinners. What's also neat about this site is that we don't have a ton of standing trees at Heritage, but those houses, 13 through 20, those are actually on a sloped back that are going to have lookout basements, and then they all back to a pretty dense wooded view there, which is neat. The ones along Great Loop East, majority of those are walkout basements. So you'll see on the drawing there, there's actually a wide, I think we have it at 8 feet walkway that's going to eventually connect along the entire Great Loop Road throughout the entire development. So those people can walk out the lower level of their house or step down from the main level and then be on the main artery throughout the whole resort. So this whole development, as you look at the little pods of homes, they all have kind of their unique elements that, we think are going to sell well, and be a neat addition to the place. Let me show you, I'll show you a few examples of the architecture. So this is an example of the 2-story, 2-bed, 2.5-bath in that upper left-hand corner, that's an actual rendering of the architecture that we intend to have up there.
And that's how big?
That's 1150. And all of these are going to have front porches that face this walkway. So we found that people, and these are a little bit larger than the villas porches. So we were really hoping that people hang out and we create this kind of intimate alleyway for the homes there. There's a 5-foot front setback. So these homes are a little bit closer to the walkway than what you see throughout elsewhere at Heritage Harbor. But a lot of the reference communities we look at, like Norton Commons down in Kentucky, any of the new urbanist communities, you see a lot of that. And it's pulling that buildingscape and streetscape closer to the circulation. And for us, it gives us a little more room for the common areas in the back for activities.
How deep's the porch?
So we have them at 8 feet right now. Yeah.
I have a
And-
question about that walkway though. How wide is that walkway width? I know you're showing it that you can get emergency vehicles down. Are you gonna be able to drive a fire truck down it?
So, and Doug, we've been working with Doug on this. Maybe he can answer the exact, because our civil engineer, we have a fire plan for this in terms of where hydrants and access, but then also, emergency vehicle as in an ambulance being able to loop through and get around. I don't know if you could expand on the.
It's a good question, and it's one that, in Heron's Landing and then the far west end of the resort, the fire chief at those two different fire chiefs, but at those times, they stipulated that we had to put dry hydrants in, and they have this protocol that they go, I'm not sure what they call it, but I'll call it a protocol in terms of how they drop their hoses and how they fight a fire. And I think that obviously in Heron's Landing, they never intended to drive a truck back there. And the same thing would be true at the far west end in 5B, as that was. And so I think in this setting, our preference would be that they would go in to fight a fire with hoses, which is what they normally do anyway. If you think about the distance, it's really not that great. There are also fire hydrants along Canal Road, so if they have a fire to the back or to the north of that area, we would assume that they would connect to those hydrants back there. I think the current fire chief is still looking at this, right?
Yeah, for the most part, he didn't have an issue with it as long as we were within, the fire hydrant was in, we calculated out, a fire hydrant, 300 feet is about as far as you can go from a fire hydrant to a house, and we were within those limits, or they were within
Well,
those limits.
I'm just looking at your rendering there, Kevin. This pathway is gonna be probably what, maybe 20 feet, 25 feet?
Porch to porch is
The porch to porch is, your catchman here, but the walkway itself, he's calling out at, I think at 10 or 12 feet wide. So I mean, the path
Okay, so
itself is.
then on either side of that walkway, you're showing a tree planted there. So you're gonna narrow that down if you start putting trees along this walkway, which you're gonna wanna landscape that area somewhat. But I'm just worried about your emergency access. That's the only thing I'm thinking about.
So, and again, we've had a couple of occasions where people use an ambulance, for instance, in Carriage and they have no problem with the unit and so forth, just moving it down the sidewalk. I think they would prefer to do that in terms of access, getting into the home or into the building quickly and getting the victim out and to an ambulance, let's say. I think they would prefer to do it that way, but these byways, whatever you want to call them, you would call them sidewalks or carriage walks. I think they are wide enough to accommodate an ambulance. I think that.
They would be, because we've talked about, we want to get a Vector truck down there just in case there's an issue with, storm or sewer line. So if a Vector truck can down there, an ambulance can certainly go down there.
Well,
The engineers are looking at it that way from a turning radius standpoint.
okay,
But
they
it
can.
would be very rare that you
They can get down that path when there's nothing planted there. When you start putting in, Kevin, leave that down for just a second. When you start putting in a shade tree of any kind of size, you're now narrowing it, the clearance to get through there. Because your branches are gonna be at about 10 feet, maybe 12 feet.
This is the first time I've ever heard you talk against trees.
I'm not talking against trees. No, I'm not talking, I'm not talking about it. I just want to make sure, Tom, that you're planning enough space for the landscaping, the buildings, and your path. Because I don't want to have somebody come in here and say, oh, we can't do this now because it's too narrow. You can't put the landscaping in that you want to put in because it's too narrow. We can't get a Vector truck or a fire truck or the ambulance down that path. And the other thing I was thinking about is when people go to move into these, they're parking out in this parking lot and they're wheeling it back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what they do at cottages at Heron's Landing, same thing.
They would be prohibited.
All right, well,
Same as Heron's Landing. You can go talk to those people and they love it the way it is. They don't want to see traffic.
well, I'm just, because you get some cowboy truck driver driving a moving van coming in from wherever, they're gonna pull that truck in there and say, well, I can go down that path, watch me.
Well, there'd probably be a fold down, you know, like you see in the.
A bollard. Yeah, bollard, whatever. I'm just thinking in the back of my mind of all the crazy cowboy stuff that I've seen take place.
Well, we read books about this stuff all the time, right? We kind of get student of that, and there's a lot of European influence in what we do, the whole new urbanist movement and the traditional neighborhood design. There's exemplar projects like this all over the country that win awards for this type of planning because, our kids were raised in our family grew up in neighborhood, right? So everything there is at least a 22-foot wide street that goes to the cul-de-sac, and it's the classic suburban setting that we've done ever since World War II, right? And I think what the new urbanists are trying to do, and what we're trying to do, is break that cycle. And
I like it, Tom. I'm not arguing against it. I like this, but I'm just saying, I just think we need to make sure that some things are designed in here to take that into account.
Isn't that what this letter between Tom Bettlinger and them is addressing? I mean, it talks about tree sizes and.
Well, I didn't see that part yet.
That's what I got from the two letters from Tom Bettlinger.
Oh, I didn't get to that
It's
part
from, it
yet.
was in the
It was
SharePoint.
in SharePoint.
Oh, I didn't see that part. I got,
see that balance between good design that people feel intimate in and being able to handle their.
And I'm sure if you're consulting with the fire people, they certainly know what they need.
Yeah, and our civil engineers, they've been on top of it. I was just gonna hold this up, because this drive here swoops up and does connect. So you technically could drive this loop, ambulance worst case, and then both these speeders are connected here and here.
Yeah.
So I mean, if this was a dead end situation, I'd be more concerned, but I think the fact that
It's open.
you really could connect almost to any place in the development.
Yeah.
Once you live in there and getting the experience of a vehicle-free zone, like living in a park, that's the trade-off is, and then for people that don't feel comfortable and they want to be able to drive up to the unit, we'll have plenty of other products that they can do. But that cottages at Heron's Landing has been the best proof of concept for us, because it's a pretty strong vibe there and community. And if that hadn't done what it's done, we probably wouldn't be doing this, of course, but we this is what we think. And then this size unit, number of bedrooms and bath, that's really what a lot of people are looking for. And then the colors of these, we're working through a palette and doing some some pricing. We'd love to have them, shake with white trim, cedar shake. The pricing is crazy right now. Our alternative is going to be some really cool, historically correct colors on the siding and trim. And we have, we have those selected and we'll present them for the final plat. We're just pricing out a few options on those.
I have a question for you too. That piece of property currently now is how high above what is that, the Great Loop? What is your road out there?
Great loop.
Great Loop. How high is it off the road now? Is it 10, 12 feet?
About 10 feet.
10 feet? Is your plan to lower that, or are you going to build on that hill.
Pretty close to that elevation.
So it's gonna be on that hill, it's gonna be elevated
Yeah,
up.
and there's a distinct advantage in terms of selling that as real estate, because you go up there and we invite all of you to take a walk up there and take a look at it, because you really do get a great.
Oh, it's gonna be up in the air.
It really is kind of a neat feeling, and the fact that, as Kevin said, you can put everything that faces a great roof on the street with the walkout basement situation, so it'll be really a special place.
Mhm.
And,
this drive here slopes up, so 20, 19, 18, those houses step up. This activity hall actually is at a walkout, so you're gonna access two elevations, you can go to the lower level up here, and then everything else here is pretty much high up, including these. These are all the elevation of the parking lot, so you'll go up the slope to get up in the parking lot there, and then these units will have some pretty commanding views over the harbor.
Tom, did you ever take care of your drainage issue with, was it the Weisses that are to the east of you? Yeah, they were complaining about
Oh, yeah, I remember
their lot
that.
line on the east, that, was it the
I
white?
don't know if that, I don't think that was a drainage issue.
Well, they were,
It was a boundary line dispute, the old Victorian engineering had made a angle mistake. And at this end, it amounts to a couple inches. By the time you get to the river, it's a foot or something like that. It was an angle miscalculation.
yeah, but I remember when they came in, this is going back when you were first talking about the,
I thought it related to the dog.
well, no, those are the people on the west end. I'm talking about the people on the east end. They were talking about when you were gonna put in the boathouse. They were talking about the drainage to the east, that there was something happened that it backs up into their property somewhat. And you said you were gonna take care of it and you were gonna look into it. This is probably about 5, 6 years ago now, Tom. It's been a while. And I thought their names were, was it Weiss? The people to the east end? Heitzels.
No, Weitzel.
Weitzel's.
W-E-I-T-Z-E-L.
the dog park people had
Not the dog park people had a different issue. They had an issue with drainage too, but
Dog park people had the problem with the drainage.
they had problem with the drainage on the west end, but the Weitzels were having an issue on the east end too, though. They had some issue. I remember they were bringing it to us, and this has been a while since they came, and I just knew there was something along that east end, that east edge.
That's going on now, of course, this is all, engineers have this all figured out as to where to go, this will all go into storms, not out of their property. And so I just don't recall any issues with drainage over there.
Yeah, we ran into them recently.
They're, 3/4 of their property is in floodplain.
Towards the river it is.
Yeah, the creek goes through there, so any drainage that has to get out of there gets in another creek. So I'm not sure what,
Did you post-
I probably remember that, there was this boundary line thing, and we'd always ask them to file with the title company, because, that was covered in the title.
Did this require posting? No, because it's within the development, the overall PUD. It didn't require a new posting. Did it require a posting in the paper?
Nope.
Well, the final?
Nope.
It's just all because it's all being handled within the plan unit
It's not a
development.
public hearing.
Huh?
It's not a public hearing. It's a public meeting, obviously, not a public hearing, though.
For the preliminary plat? All right, well, they're gonna hear about it in the
We have
paper.
a good relationship with them. Sit down with them.
Find out, do yourself a favor, because they had an issue when you were talking about the boathouse. And I thought you were gonna,
When we talked about
when you were talking about the big boat storage thing,
Oh, the dry stacks.
the dry stack.
Now I'm with you. Okay.
And that was what, 5, 6 years ago?
Oh, that's it, yeah. Maybe they were.
No, it was something with the drainage, if I remember right. It's been a while, Tom. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm the only one up here.
Oh,
Me and Debbie Burns are the only two left that started out with you.
I'm older than all of you, so I have a late.
But I just,
I'll check it.
okay.
So,
Okay.
so just some of the images on the left, that's the look and feel that we want, and you'll see some of the, I have a board that just kind of overviews some of the signage, but we really want that kind of intimate, you're a couple steps off your steps from your porch, and just that strong community feel. And that's a rendering on the right that we're going to keep updating as we get that final look locked down. So this is the two story, the two bed, 2.5 bath. Let me show you some of the other product here. This is a representative of the 7 carriage homes along Canal. The inspiration for it on the left, along the I&M Canal, there was these mule barns, and you see them around Ottawa, and they're awesome. Yep, and it'd be
On Webster Street.
and you see these in Joliet, and there's a few other instances. It'd be hard to do them all out of stone, but maybe we're going to be able to, but otherwise, doing a board and batten and kind of a look of building in the roof lines. We want these to be really good looking buildings, even though technically on paper they're the least desirable on Canal Road. We're adding value to them in other ways and also create a barrier from this neighborhood to Canal by getting the height in there. So I'm really personally curious to see how these absorb, because I would love to have that little golf cart garage and that little workshop and then the unit upstairs.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be how big?
These are 24 by 24. And then 2 stories. About 1,000 close to 1,000 square feet on these. And then this is the multifamily building. We're calling Canal Quarters. Up on the top right, that's the actual rendering of the unit. So they would have double front porches. Each quadrant of that is the 1 bed, 1 bath. You see in the lower corner there. Square footage per unit's just nearly 600 square feet. And so they're tidy, but we see people looking for this size, both in a condo and a rental situation. And what we see in other resorts and what we really like is that these, again, don't look like apartments or that these look like single family homes. And so around this parking lot, you'd have 12 of these really shielding that whole space and then being pretty lushly landscaped. And then some of these have been built down in South Carolina by our architect that helped us on our master plan. And that's the group that gave us the inspiration for these.
Several of them built in Beaufort, South Carolina. It really is a great looking exterior. It looks very historic, and yet inside there's 4 very efficient apartments.
And all of these units have access to that activity room and that pool in this quadrant of the development.
Yep. So the activity hall, it's going to be scaled larger than what's up in the upper right there, but we want the look of a classic old schoolhouse. Again, this is going to be a walkout, but architecture very similar to that. Simple white, with the black windows and that bold door. And then again, we'd have a pool, an amenity pool, resort feel in front of that. And then we are going to mix in some park spaces, playground, swing, stuff that you really think of like if you were to go up to Wisconsin and bonfires, be able to hang out. So that's representative of some of the amenities. And then parking, lighting, signage, and landscape. We know these units, we're allotting some extra money for these units to be landscaped a little more heavily since we're off the water, and we're going to be testing, trying to get values up to where they need to be off the water. This is an example of some of the signage along the walkways. So doing a cedar or a treated post and having some Navvytown specific signage for there. Potentially having a Navvytown specific fence design. We love the light post with the carriage light on top, and then so it's really going to be a Navvytown specific type look for this area. And then the parking lot, one of the variance requests that we're asking for is no curb and gutter on that. So we're relying on what's the best BMC.
Management practices.
For water drainage there, and by utilizing and working with our civil engineer to get these landscape areas also to manage the any kind of runoff. But then this whole parking lot would have storm sewers integrated into it also. But what we want is that when people pull into this lot, it's not like you're pulling into a parking, shopping center parking lot or something. You have this natural boundary edge from where your car is to be able to walk over to your unit. We think that's really important at a place like this, to have that be your first experience.
These condos, the Canal Quarters will be facing that parking lot, so getting that parking lot just right in terms of the way it looks is really good.
The units on the upper right, that's actually one of the communities that we look up to a lot. It's River Dunes down in North Carolina. And those are representative of the smaller residential look in that northeast corner, the ones that are about 600 square feet. The look and feel of what we're going to have would be very similar to those.
So will it pitch to the islands in the middle? Drain towards the middle?
We have storms in that lot, so it would drain to the storms and then go out to the harbor. So not everything would go to those landscape beds, but any collection, anything that does go over the edge would be dealt with outside of the storms, not be relying on full capture from curb down to the storms.
No, that's another best management practice, is to drain to your landscape beds and you're using your landscape beds basically as a stormwater detention net. So, I mean, if it's pitching to those islands, you're gonna have trees, shrubs, grass planted in there. It's gonna pitch to it, and it's gonna help water all that stuff out in the middle of that
Right, and that.
asphalt concrete parking lot.
That would be the case, but it would be, in discussions with the engineer, it would be like, that's too.
Well, it'll limit, yeah.
All going in there.
It can't all go there, but I'm saying some of it will.
Yeah. And what's important, you can see here that we're sacrificing spots to have this pedestrian walkway, that when we look at the Harbor Town plan, this community is connected to our downtown through a nice wide path that's landscaped on either side. And then this becomes, this actually carries through almost the whole north side of the development. So we have pedestrian connectivity throughout the entire resort. So it's neat. In the middle of the parking lot, we have what's going to be a pretty heavily used pedestrian walkway there.
So how will units 43 through 54, how will they be situated? They're the ones surrounding the parking lot. Are they actually the back sides of those homes
The
will
back side, so the front porches will face out.
out to those walkways?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I assumed that, but I'm just trying to.
Parking and lighting. So I'll show you a few slides on Harbor Town. And this graphic shows, we worked with our master planner, Allison Ramsey, again, to lay out this downtown. And we're really locking in that this is what we want our downtown to look like and feel. You can see Navitown's really taking us right to the edge of Harbor Town. And then this plat includes this portion right here. You'll probably see us in the near future looking at some additional platting. We'd like to get some more active adult in the rest of Harbor Town going too. So I have some architecture examples there, but you can see that walkway through the parking lot's really taking you again right through what would be this kind of interesting live work pop-up core.
Just for clarification though, tonight we're only dealing with the green.
Tonight, our plat, the preliminary plat that you see does include that edge of Harbor Town.
Does it? Okay. All right, well then I got a question about your building number 4. That mixed use building number 4 down there along East Loop Drive. That's gonna be your commercial. You plan on it said you plan on having a brewery or something in there and some other stuff, brew pub or whatever. We'd have 5 retail spaces. Most likely it'd be real estate sales. We're talking about having a market there, maybe the hospitality hub, and then have one available for an additional retail space. Okay. And I know you're talking about having a lot of walk-up traffic to this, but you are gonna have some other people coming from outside of this immediate area, hopefully from Ottawa, hopefully from somewhere else, coming there. Where are they parking?
So the parking lot there, what we've allotted for is one spot each for the carriage, one spot for the bunk, for the smaller, two spots each for the two-story houses, one spot each for each one of the multifamily units. And then that lot has 37 extra spaces as Harbortown overflow. But then the other thing is this spring, we're also going to be putting in the Great Loop connection from both ends of the resort. That Great Loop Road is again a major artery there. That entire road, this entire road here is going to have parking on it. There is an additional parking lot component to Harbortown. There'll be parking along the main street here, parking all along the right side here. So our dependency on that lot for Harbortown specific traffic, it's a component of what will be ultimately, when you see in these kind of communities, these new urbanist communities, is it's parking everywhere, but in a responsible way, that you don't want to concentrate them to lots. So what we see is, a combination of some of the parking there, some in that lot, a lot of street parking, even into this whole residential side. Again, you'll see probably in a month or two, this whole north row here is all lined with parking also. So our plan is to really spread it out in the peripheral around Harbortown.
Okay, well, so you're planning on street parking for that building?
A lot of street parking, yep, and really,
I meant to say something about that earlier, that we are going to, it's a big project for us. We're going to continue the entire concrete roadway from that point all the way west, and connect to Bridge West. So that's going to be done in spring. It's not under contract, it's being designed. My understanding is that it doesn't require a planning, but that will be recorded, and obviously the city will know it's posted.
Yeah, I see.
This is north of the inner harbor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct, this whole road area.
Take it from both ends.
Yes, right.
So this
Kind of
whole road
gravel right now.
will have parking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not much right now.
It's, yeah, right.
It's driving us all crazy, but it's just time, it's a big chunk, but we gotta do it. So that's gonna be done this spring.
That's a 32-foot wide road with one row of fixed parking. We're planning that this whole road's gonna have parking on it. This will be a lot, and obviously we'll have the two lots here.
it'll be interesting to see how Heritage gets used in the future, because with 450 low slips, 600, 700 homes, and the visitors, you'd hope a lot of people are walking and using the golf carts. I think, it'll be interesting to see. You will get influxes of people, but there'll be a lot of inner resort traffic kind of going around.
Well, you've had some events out there where the community has come out to support your event, and you've had a couple hundred cars pull up and need to find a parking spot, so.
There will be times when there will be events where, and this is a new situation, you want to bus people in, advantage of other forms of transportation other than they're expecting to park on site. It's what it is when you have this kind of event, so it's development. But
I hope you have a parking problem out there.
I hope we do.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Ride your bike.
I might.
Come on the canal path, right here.
Yeah, come visit on the canal.
12 miles from our neighborhood down the back.
Where do you live?
Well, I'm just saying, so it is all of it is the plat tonight, the preliminary tonight.
Up to here, yeah.
But you're concentrating on building the green part this spring.
Correct.
And hopefully a portion of Harbortown. Those lots would be improved as part of this, and we'd love to get.
We're hoping that building at the southwest corner, number 4, that you talked about earlier, we hope to be building that this next season.
And that's a 3-story, 15,000 square foot, but it's time, and we'd love to see it. So it's a big step to get the infrastructure in for this. And I have a few other buildings down there.
And then the units that are tucked back in there, are they the same style of unit that you're going to be putting in on the east side of the green area?
This year?
Yes.
I'll show you, I have an image of those.
All right,
So this building down here, this is schematic architecture from our master planners for 5 and 4. That, we really like the look of that building with the wraparound porches. And, this is schematic again, but it's representative of what we see there. It's 5 1,000 square foot retail bays. That's how they think at places like this. And then upstairs, we'd have an opportunity for office, fitness, spa, hospitality rooms. So we'd program that building, but this is really what we'd love to see near future. And then same thing where that 5 building is, that would probably be a little bit later down the road, but that would be another mixed use site. That could be an arts installation and apartments but that's going to be improved as a commercial site available for sale. If, maybe someone locally would even jump on it.
Tom, just an FYI, down where my brother lives in Greenville, South Carolina, there's a development down there called the Cliffs. They put up a condo office building down there. For the people that moved in there, similar type of design you have here. It's more of a golf resort, but some people aren't ready to give it up just yet.
Yep.
So they built a condo office building about maybe a mile from the place, and I think it's full.
Yeah, we're giving a lot of thought to this whole concept of how can we get people to come earlier in their life, in their life's plan, and spend more time on it, right? So, we're taking that into consideration in home design for home offices. The trend certainly seems to be that, you certainly don't want to invest today in downtown office space in Chicago, right? But I think the kind of thing you're talking about is the condoed offices, shared offices, and those categories that allow people to be able to walk to work or to share an office, and share printers and technology and so forth with others in that space. I think Ottawa would be smart to do that in multiple places in our community, because, especially downtown, I think it would be very popular thing today, and I think we're going to see a lot of that. And people are really quickly, rapidly changing their ideas of how they want to live, and I think it's a perfect time for Ottawa to really grow and prosper from that movement. I hope they do.
So one of these large pages didn't make it out of the printer, but on the third to last page of your packet, this represents the product that would go in the center core here. And what's neat is our master planner thought, and they do this, it's called incremental development. So instead of depending on a mass building to go in number 2 here in this middle core, we're going to go ahead and improve 10 commercial lots there with the intent that those in the future would be 2 live-work buildings with 5 bays each, most likely 2-3 stories. But until the density is there to cover something like that, the plan is that you phase it first with what they call pop-up retail, but these would actually be a little bit more permanent looking buildings, likely on piers, but with the intent that they would support as incubators or a small office for the next 5 years, maybe 10. But when the timing's right, then that live work core could then get built out and become a second phase for Harbortown to increase density. But in the interim, it allows us to get 10 or 12 neat little places, and those could be a little wine bar or a bike rental, professional office. But part of this preliminary plat is improving and laying out, and then the center of those become a circulation core. So imagine even those 10 or 12 units being a pop-up market, and so that you have a big pedestrian walkway space in the middle, and then you could open those up and have little shops on the weekends. So it's a lot of product. It's probably our biggest plat we've done probably since West Peninsula. But again, things are going good out there, and now's the time. So a lot of cool people, and it'll be fun to see these people integrate. They're all super excited to, explore Ottawa and go to the restaurants, go to the shops, become part of the community.
What's your time frame?
fast as we can. As Kevin mentioned, our problem right now is we don't have problem itself. In a development like this, people really want to come, see what you've got, and they really make decisions based on, is there inventory available? So literally, we've been talking to Doug and to the mayor about the fact that we really want to move this along very quickly. Folks, there's enormous challenges to the building right now. The building costs are just going out of sight. Building materials are just insane with the increases that we've seen. But we've got to do this because the market's strong and we want to take advantage of the market. So literally, we want to be digging basements as early as April, we hope, and certainly no later than early in May. And, you know, we're going to try to do these 12 at a time, the first 12 that are in the center. And so we're going to try to do them more as a production basis. We're getting pricing from modular builders like HomeWay, but some of those guys already don't have production capability because they're so busy. So we may end up sticking over them on site ourselves with leading that too. So we want to be in there very early on and be doing this as fast as we possibly can. We have still a number of lots on the West Peninsula that we want to be building on. About more than half now of the lots that are in Pinnacle Point have been sold. There's one house going up and 5 more scheduled as soon as the weather breaks. That you'll see basements going in and those homes going up. Those are expensive homes, those are expensive lots, and they're going to be very expensive homes. And I think one of the neatest things that I'm proud of at Heritage Harbor is that you've got several of those will be in excess of $1 million a unit, and yet you've got these small units in Navvytown, those units in Carriage at Aaron's Landing, and those people get to the restaurant or they get to an event and they're as good a friends as you could ever imagine. People just aren't, for whatever reason, in a resort, they enjoy being around each other and they don't get whatever uppity about their position in life or my house is bigger than yours or whatever. I hope that doesn't happen at May at some point. So far, we've been pretty successful with people kind of various financial needs really intermixing and enjoying being there. And proud of that.
So you're looking April, May, putting in.
It's probably, in today's building world, it's probably because of all of the steps you have to go through, and it's probably not realistic that, you know, if we could be closing this in July, we would probably feel very grateful. I don't know. It's probably going to be later July, August.
Well, we're here about the preliminary plat tonight, so we'll get the preliminary plat done, hopefully. Then you'll have to go iron out your engineering stuff and whatever with the city, and then come back with your final plat, which is most likely March. And then, well, we can. I'm not opposed to special meetings. So.
A lot of discussion. Those guys have been great.
I mean, done enough that it was going to respond to preliminary, and then I think we gave the final plat pretty quick. If it was supported.
Yeah, real quick. I mean, one of the reasons instead of doing preliminary and final at the same time is you want to make sure that there's no issues with, the parking lot not having any curbs. And just make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Well, that's going to require a variance, correct?
Which is part of the subdivision process, is part of why we're having this meeting, is we can say yay or nay on that tonight.
What else do we need besides the parking lot issue?
If we approve the preliminary plat, we approve the,
You approve the parking lot.
yes, yeah,
It's all one package.
correct. It's not like a variance to the zoning ordinance. It's a variance to the subdivision code, which is different.
But there was a couple other notes that were in that letter about some setback issues and whatever as well.
That was, so the the original plan unit development basically essentially gives them carte blanche as far as setbacks and stuff like that. So that's a non-issue as far as us having to grant any variance or anything like that.
And what was your comment about, is there gonna be a path behind it connecting it, or is the path gonna be in the front? You said there was gonna be a path connecting those eastern lots. Was that out front or is that behind it?
I think it's in front, isn't it?
Yeah,
A
it's,
continuation of that walkway that goes all the way.
It's right on Inner Harbor, Glenn.
Yeah, I know, but you made a comment about they're gonna walk out the back.
The fronts of those houses all face
The front all face that one path, but then you made a comment about walking out the back.
these will be walkout basements.
That's the back of those houses.
No, I'm talking about the ones on the other, on the east, yeah.
These will have lookout basements, but with the grading there. So they'll have basements, but they'll be lookout with.
Like an English basement?
But
All
not,
right.
there won't be a
Okay.
walkway behind them, just the walkout basement,
So,
wooded area.
yeah, so we always want to be very pedestrian friendly. So, for instance, this pathway will be extended all the way down on the east side of the and we'll go all the way down to the beach.
To your little park you have down at the
So that
beach.
These people grab a cup of coffee in the morning, take a nice walk down there with their dog or whatever, and be on the beach. And from there, they can walk all the way along the river or back up around the peninsula and around the entire resort for that matter. So we always want to do that, and of course, this will get the Harbor Town that way. You can take this corridor across to Harbor Town. You can, from this area in Harbor Town, you can get down to where Knott's Landing is, and of course, there you can get on the Harbor Walk and walk around the entire harbor. So there's going to be plenty of places where people can get outside and exercise and enjoy the outdoors. Obviously, we will, especially with this branding of Navytown, we want people to go right up to where the crossover is at just the west side of this intersection is where the bridge goes across the canal. And of course, from there you can go miles and miles. Of course, we're all open. I think there's some discussion going on between the city and IDNR. I think we're all looking forward to the time where that path will be greatly improved. And, you all know we've got a few dead ash trees that easily fall down across that path now, and, the whole story. So.
Well, the east canal is
It's sad,
terrible.
Yeah,
The canal going to the east is,
it needs a lot of.
it needs a lot of work.
But when you get back in there, and I do that every once in a while, I'll take a bike ride, and, or the walk, and it's still beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
It's really good. But it needs more attention. It needs to be made better.
And nothing's envisioned for outlot A up on the corner by the Canal Road entrance coming in.
I think you showed an architectural example of that.
That's the town.
We're not doing that tonight.
No, we're doing this whole, this whole preliminary plat is,
This is, it's.
yeah,
PUE, so we're limited.
no, here.
Where's the other side?
It's
Down
here.
west.
This is outlot A right here.
Oh,
There's nothing planned for this.
this is all easement here.
Yeah.
And so, we obviously would love to park the landscape there, but the big power lines run across there, so we're limited.
But you've got a large building by the entrance, right?
This lot one is the first mixed-use building here, and the master plan like that, you have some power, and that's your gateway into the heritage.
And all your signage out there, Tom, is all gonna be consistent throughout the whole development, correct? It's all the blue and white and gold signage? Even for this part, this Navytown part?
However, if you drive around, you notice that, for instance, houses at Hearns Landing have a stone monumentation there. This is kind of Pierre's job, and I think he strives to always make it pretty consistent, but the Navy Town signage will have a little bit more of a historical look to it. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Each neighborhood kind of has.
Yeah.
their own.
Yeah.
And I agree with that.
It kind of works well, I think.
The type of architecture.
But you can see the logo on the page, you know, we studied the different toll houses and looked at how they did the fonts in those days. We spent time in the toll house looking through different historical documents on how they did signage back in that day. And so we want to introduce that kind of look and feel into the neighborhood. So, you know, the street sign, the sidewalk signs that Kevin showed, we'll keep it consistent throughout that neighborhood part. But the resort signage, you know, anything directing people through the resort will all be consistent in color and text color and tone color and fonts. So, yeah, we paid quite a bit of attention to that. We actually phased out. There was a different kind of blue that came and crept in, and we phased that out, and we've gotten everything looking with the white borders around blue signage, so it's looking consistent from that side of things. But
As I mentioned too, it's neat, you know, you saw this right now, you can see it, we have our little boathouse neighborhood here, we're building all 10 of those right now, sales are enough that we're putting up that block. So, you know, moving forward at Heritage, you're gonna start seeing, like what we're proposing here, with 12 houses go up at once, 12 finished houses, so we can get up to 70, 80, 100 units a year. Because we think we can support that. So this would be high impact work.
And very soon, we'll be able to invite you all to our new floating marina headquarters. Everybody's aware of that? It's pretty cool. It's our first really good size floating building at Heritage Center. You have to go through a lot of interesting hoops to get there, but it's really looking good. So we're going to be moving down there in the next week, and then we'll probably have some kind of grand opening and talk about all of that.
Is there
So
anything
the
else?
Nathan Boyce special, you do all the doors, the trim.
Oh,
Yeah, yes.
So of course, the trim's like this thick on the doors and.
So total units is right around 100 units?
So, exclusive of the Harbor Town, it's 89 units total. So we had to sacrifice one single family just by the time our engineers. So on that front page, that count that says 34 single family, and then I separated out the carriage homes. So 7 carriage homes, 34 single family, which includes the smaller units, and then 12 multifamily buildings that would be 48 units total.
Okay.
So we're at 89 total for the development.
For the entire, this whole plat?
For this whole class, except for here, and this Harbor Town portion might add another 8 to 12 or 16 apartments.
So you're right at about 100?
With the Harbor Town, probably 100.
Good. You got a lot of development going on right out there right now.
A lot of risk. Let's hope for a good economy.
Well, interest rates are good right now.
Through this COVID and under the next chapter of our life.
All right, well,
Thank you for
Are you
listening.
ready for a motion?
we got
Yeah.
to do public comment. There's nobody here. I don't think there's anybody online. I can't hear them.
Judy, do you want to make a motion?
Yes. Are you ready?
Unless anybody has any more comments. I mean,
I move we recommend approval of the preliminary plat for Navy Town at Heritage Harbor, Ottawa Planned Unit Development.
incorporating staff comments.
Right.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Judy, seconded by Todd. Any other discussion about this? You're sure we don't need to address any individual variances?
Very sure.
Okay. I don't want to have to redo it if we mess something up.
No, we're good.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? This will go forward and goes on to the city council. They can hammer away at you. I don't know what they're gonna hammer on you with, but you said you have 5 units going on that peninsula in the spring?
At least 5 right now that are actually scheduled to be done.
Are they on the harbor side or on the river side, or both? Both?
Yeah, there's 3 lot types out there. There's 6 estate lots. So the homes that are going out there are gonna be 4, 6, and 8,000 square feet.
When's the big one going in?
They're designing one of those, but the 4-story one's going up this summer. That's a big detached garage with an apartment. So those are gonna be some substantial homes up there. And Tammy's doing a spec out that area. She hasn't even started construction and it sold last week. So she's building that. That's a $600,000 waterfront house.
Got a lot of building going on out there.
That's good.
Good luck, Tom.
Thanks very much.
All right. We have discussion on our agenda. I just have a couple quick things. One, rail study. Any estimate on that?
The draft you guys saw went to the city council for their comments, and that's where it's at right now.
Okay. And then I got some comments about the revision of the comprehensive plan.
Uh-huh.
Have we gotten any more information from the planners about possibly another public input hearing or whatever?
Not, they plan on coming back here in March. I'll touch base as far as like a public type thing.
And they're coming back most likely in March, right?
Yeah.
Well, we can have a special meeting for
All
that.
right.
if we,
Yeah,
So we need to start looking at calendars maybe.
we'll see.
I mean, I don't want to hold these days up.
No, yeah, well, I mean, it
No,
just
we
depends
don't
on
wanna hold it
if
up.
they're ready, yeah, we'll fire away.
Yeah, for sure.
Or a special meeting for the, for Tesca, either way, whether for them or for Tesca.
We would love to get involved, getting to know what Tesca is doing and understand that, and it would be helpful to us, so that we have a program.
Well, they have some interesting ideas and interesting,
So I understand. It's just been tough to do stuff like that, you know,
Yeah.
because of the circumstances. You know.
well, because they're tasked with a couple different things. In the last meeting, we spent a lot of time on the riverfront.
Right.
But we've also tasked them with the North Drive corridor and going up 23 and some other stuff, so I just don't, I've had a couple calls from concerned citizens about when we're gonna be able to get back in with Tesca. So, that's it.
Okay.
All right, so our next meeting is in March.
If not earlier. March 22nd is the regularly scheduled one.
Now I don't have anything scheduled, I'm not going anywhere.
Okay.
I don't know about anybody else, but we should be good.
I think that's right, isn't it? The fourth Monday?
What is it?
March 22nd.
That's, gotta be close to the first day of spring.
March 14th, we change our plaques.
Yeah, that weekend.
The only day I care about.
15th, well, it's
Right up.
actually the 15th, but the 14th when you go to bed. With that, we're adjourned.
Thank you all.
Good luck, Tom.
Thanks.